I'm Ann Coletta with Anglican TV. Yesterday I had an opportunity to speak with the Most Reverend Henry Luke Orombi, Archbishop of Uganda, who's visiting here in Southern California. I would like to thank Canon Allison Barfoot of the Archbishop's staff and Father Richard Menes of St. James Newport Beach for their help in scheduling the interview. Thank you for letting me talk to you. I guess I just wanted to start off, if you could tell me why you're here and some of the things that you're doing while you are here.
Well, I came here together with my traveling mate, Paul Waswa, on Saturday, and we are here to lead a men's retreat, which will start on Friday. This is an annual thing they do. The churches around here do that. This year they invited me to come, and I think it's a good idea, and I'll be spending a bit of time with them over the weekend, and then I leave on Monday next week.
Okay. Have you been here before?
To St. James, yes.
Oh, okay.
In this particular church, I came in November 2003. I had a meeting with them here. I was visiting this area. Yes, I met them. I met a few of them that evening. Yes,
right.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize you had been before.
Yes, I have. Yes.
You said November of 2003
Yeah.
was when you first came here. Okay.
Correct.
Obviously, I'm assuming that's in response to some of the actions that happened in the Episcopal Church in September of 2003. And I know that the Church of Uganda said at that point that you could not be in full communion with the Episcopal Church of the United States.
Yeah.
Can you just explain how that came about, how that decision was reached, and kind of some of the consequences of that decision?
Well, October the same year, when the primates had an emergency meeting in Lambeth, I wasn't then the primate yet. My predecessor came, and the actual agreement during that time was that the American church should not go ahead with the consecration of Gene Robinson.
Right.
And if they did, the fabric of the communion would be torn.
Right.
The then presiding bishop, Frank Griswold, appended his signature to that agreement. Unfortunately, November, it happened. And for us, in the September the same year, we also said the same, that if they had gone ahead consecrating a practicing homosexual to become a bishop, which is a very high ecclesiastical responsibility, we as the church in Uganda would call off our communion and our relationship with the Episcopal Church. That was September. I was in that meeting. And then I came over, I came to visit several friends, mission partners in this country, from the East Coast to the West Coast. I did a 6 weeks time here. And when the consecration of Gene Robinson was taking place, I was in this country. And of course, we were saddened, we were disappointed that if leadership of our church can agree over something, I am sure they should walk by their agreement. And at that time, Frank Griswold represented the Episcopal Church, and then things did not work well. And from then on, up to today, we are not in actual relationship with the Episcopal Church, but with the Orthodox believers. Our mission partnership is going on, it's normal.
And so who are some of the Orthodox believers in the United States?
Well, here St. James is one of them, and we have St. Luke's on the mountain in La Crescenta is one of them. We have Church All Saints in Long Beach is one of them. There are churches scattered all over this place, and in the rest of the American church, we have a number. We have quite a number of them, and these were former mission partners. We worked together, they came to us, we came to them, we had been in communion with each other, and we said we'll continue. We'll continue to be in mission with each other, and let them come and do missions with us. We will come and do missions with them, because I think that is still a positive link, and that has continued.
And so now that St. James has left the Episcopal Church and is under the province of Uganda, how did that come about? Were they looking for more Orthodox oversight?
Correct. When they could no longer work with their bishop here because of his theological and doctrinal views, they felt very, very out of place. They wanted to remain with the faith that they have inherited, the biblical understanding of Jesus Christ, the mission to the church and the mission to the world, When that was not working under the context of their diocese, they cried for help. We responded, and this is our response. We responded, then momentarily let them come under us. We'll give them the spiritual oversight, a spiritual cover. Meanwhile, they're doing their own thing here, and after some time when things settle here, they really can come back and be under any leadership that is okay here. We call them refugees.
So this is a temporary emergency situation.
Absolutely.
Okay. Right.
And it's our prayer that somehow they'll settle down and they get through their own leadership.
Right.
And because, refugees, time comes surely when they should go home.
Right.
We don't want to keep them, by the way, because it's a lot of work. I flew 20 hours to come here.
Right.
I cannot do that on a monthly basis.
Right.
And I have a lot more work to do at home.
Right.
So we really are saying, come under us, have a breathing space, organize yourself. When you're ready, go back home.
That's one thing I wanted to ask you in terms of the actual day-to-day logistics of dealing with parishes that are so far away. Is it mostly email and phone calls?
Well, we don't give the direct link as a day-to-day basis, bishop to congregations.
Right.
We leave the clergy to do that. We have deans of the convocation, so there is a dean of convocations in the West, and that is Bill Thompson of All Saints in Long Beach. So they look after the rest of the things. Our bishops come here every now and again to do confirmations, to sit in, to listen, to advise. And then for other things, when they want to consult, email, call. This is very temporary. You can't run church that way.
Right.
So they do it here, and when the right time comes, our bishops come and do the thing a bishop should do.
Right.
For the time being, temporal measure, I pray that it stops so that they can go ahead and do their own things on a full-time basis, then remain partners with us.
Right. I know one thing, when the Church of Uganda realized they could not be in communion with the American Church, a lot of issues of funding or mission money coming over to Uganda was something you felt you could no longer accept from the national church. How has that played out actually in the ground in Uganda?
It meant that some projects that we had funded by the Episcopal Church were scaled down.
Right.
It also meant that the money that we are getting through the headquarters of Episcopal Church, through Trinity Wall Street, will not be given to us anymore. One or two dioceses received some money from the Trinity Wall Street Church, and when they came to understand, when we bishops came to understand, we had to help these dioceses, and they returned the money.
I see.
Now, how does it play down? It really plays down to challenging us as a national church in my country to begin to say, hey, look, are we going to be dependent all the time?
Right.
And the answer is, in time, we need to begin to sustain our own church. And on the other hand, the Orthodox friends began giving us some money to help in some of our projects, which is a great help. And we really don't want to make this a money issue.
Right.
This is a faith issue. And if we can stand on that, it will help us. Because then if we trust the Lord who has it, then the avenues to receive money can come in one way or another. But we made that decision boldly because we said, to really make our point, I think money should not be something that should be played in politics. And I think when we made that clean and clear cut, it sort of made a statement.
Was there a reaction to that stand?
Oh, yes. The Episcopal Church was not happy. To date, money that we had even deposited with them, and this money was earmarked by individuals who gave the money for a bigger project that we have, which is a church house, and this is a building we wanted to put up. We have some money with them, not a lot of money, but some money with them. We've been writing to them to give us the money, and they can't give it.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we are still waiting. I hope they will.
Oh, I hope so too.
Well, money can be a political tool.
Yeah.
Money can be a political tool.
Sure.
That's the game we don't want to play.
Right. Exactly. Moving on to some of the more recent events in terms of what's been going on with the primates in the Episcopal Church, just what's your overview? What do you see as the underlying issue with the Episcopal Church versus the majority of the Anglican Communion?
The Episcopal Church wants to be different. Right from the Lambeth Conference 1998 I attended, when the resolution was passed that the Anglican Church would keep to a biblical way of marriage, the bishops of the Episcopal Church were unhappy. And they made it very clear.
So that was obvious in 1998?
Absolutely. I mean, I was there, I saw it.
Right.
They were very clear they are not going to submit to the resolution. Then we came up with the Windsor Report. We looked at the Windsor Report, February 2005. Frank Griswold was there. We offered the Windsor Report to sort out this problem. And Frank Griswold said yes. They came back. They were given 2 years because they said it's only the General Convention that handles that. Last year, they had their General Convention. Now, this year in February, when we went to Dar es Salaam, the response to the Windsor request was not met. And now we are saying, okay, let's give you a few more months, 7 months. By September, we want to hear that you are going to work together with the Anglican Communion. And the House of Bishops met in March. What came out of that in our hearing is that they have disregarded what the primates have asked them, I believe, in the spirit of charity and generosity and love.
Right.
Well, the deadline is 30th of September.
Right.
There is going to be another House of Bishops meeting, I believe, in September. I don't know what will come out of that. But what we hear is that there is so much concerted effort by the Communion to help the Episcopal Church to work together with us. I don't think they are willing. I don't think they're interested. I think they just want to make a point. As we gather, the Episcopal Church believes very strongly the rest of the Communion will fall in step to where they are, and therefore it's a matter of time. So now we are dealing with a member of our family that will not want to work together with the rest of them.
Right. So I know in the primates communique from February, and you set the September 30th deadline, but the consequences of the Episcopal Church not agreeing to those conditions were fairly vague, on purpose, I'm sure. But do you have any feel, or is there any understanding of what a potential consequence could be if they don't conform?
The Dromantine communique was that if they could not come together to work with us in response to the Windsor Report, they would have chosen to work apart.
Okay.
Now that's a choice.
Right.
Way back in 2005, we're still acting on that. If they don't want to come to the rest of the Communion by walking the way the Anglican Communion has chosen to walk, they would have chosen to walk apart. I don't think we wanted to re-emphasize that. I believe that in the communique, our hope is that they would accept. And if they accepted, then we would see how else could we help the Orthodox believers to begin to accept one another with the rest of the Episcopal Church. Now, if they have chosen not to, they have already chosen to walk away and to walk apart, I believe.
And that's one of the concerns, because in the communique there was the outline of the pastoral scheme.
Exactly.
And that seems to have been
thrown
ignored.
out.
Yeah. I was going to say ignored. That's thrown out.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Well, no. I mean, you're right. I think it was. I was trying to be nice.
I don't think they think it works. I think they feel we are imposing things from outside.
Right.
Well, the point is, there is within, there is without. There is membership, there is a family.
Right.
I can be a member of a family, but I need to walk within the boundaries of a family.
Right.
And if I am going to be helped by you, and you're a member of the same family, you are a different person, but we have the bigger family to belong.
Right.
Now, I do believe that the action itself, to me, is arrogance, disregarding what others are saying, as if what others are saying doesn't make sense, as if they know better than the rest. To me, I also feel that is a deliberate overstretching of the patience of the Communion. Now, for how long? The Lord Jesus Christ said, when somebody slaps you on one cheek, turn the other. Now, supposing you turn the other, where against will they go to slap? There's no third cheek to slap. And so that's the challenge we have for now.
Right.
Yeah.
In terms of how that plays in, I know there's a draft of an Anglican Covenant. How does that play into this idea of being a family and some things you need to stay together on?
Well, the understanding is the family members would agree to work together.
Right.
The family members would give their consent to the covenant. It's going to be sad if the Episcopal Church is going the way they're going, because the next thing they're going to say is, we don't agree with the covenant.
Right.
They're implying already, we don't agree with the covenant. But we are still hoping, beyond hopes,
Right.
because you have to keep hoping, by the way. We are still hoping beyond hopes that the Episcopal Church will begin to see that the pain that is coming on to many, many people. And it could be avoided. Can they avoid it? Can they avoid behaving unilaterally? Can they avoid dragging everybody to where they want to go? Now, supposing every province decides to walk their way, will there be a communion tomorrow?
Right.
The answer is no.
Right. And what do you see as the role of the Archbishop of Canterbury in this? Because he's in kind of a focus point, a tough spot, hearing from all sides and trying to...
I want him to be a referee.
A referee?
Where he can clearly say, this is where we stand by the rule of the game. And if he would walk according to the rule of the game, I think we are going to see that the Episcopal Church will wake up. But I would want to say this is not as simple as that. But I would love him to stand on what their communion, or what the communion has agreed to stand on.
Right.
Yeah. The 110, the resolution 110, 1998 is as clear as it is. Not until another Lambeth. You don't really want to be messing up with it, trying to reinterpret it the way you like, which the Episcopal Church is doing. I mean, any other province is in position to do what they like. But we don't have to walk there deliberately. So the Archbishop really is in a position to stand clearly on what the communion's mind is. Could be unpopular, but that is a cost of leadership in a kind of mixed up communion like we have.
Well, one thing I noticed when I was doing research for this, and I hadn't realized that, talking about the Archbishop of Canterbury and what's happening in England as well, that in 2005, Sandy Miller was consecrated as an assistant bishop in the Church of Uganda, but he's in London.
Absolutely.
And that seemed to have been something that was agreed upon by all parties.
Absolutely.
So how did that work, but yet over here it seems so contentious to do what seems to me to be kind of the same thing?
Yeah, well, here it's a little different because Sandy Miller, the request came from Archbishop Rowan. Their laws and rules and constitutions does not allow for an assistant bishop to be created without a place for him to belong to. Now, Sandy Miller and I go back 1980. We were back. We were friends ever since then. We knew each other since then. 1980, I was going to study in St. John's, Nottingham, and Holy Trinity Brompton, London, was sponsoring me, and he was a curate there. So I met him there.
Right.
And I finished my studies. I went home. He continued in Holy Trinity Brompton, became a vicar, and he was retiring. He still has a lot of energy, especially with Alpha ministry. And so when Rowan wanted to find a province, the only legible province that knew Sandy Miller, and the Archbishop knowing Sandy Miller, is me. So he contacted me. He wrote to me and put me the suggestion. I put it to the House of Bishops, and the House of Bishops said, fine, we agree. And then we went ahead, November 2005, we consecrated him and released him to the Diocese of London. Now he's a Ugandan bishop serving in London under agreement with the Church of England through the Archbishop of Canterbury and the Bishop of London. So that's how it worked. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Sandy Miller is working in London. Sandy Miller is supporting Alpha Course. Sandy Miller comes to us. Sandy Miller is part of us. Sandy Miller, I don't have jurisdiction over him on a day-to-day basis, but he's free to come to us. We can invite him to come to our House of Bishops. He has a strong relationship. He's helping us in one way or another. that's a beautiful thing. I think that's excellent.
That just struck me as being such a different attitude, it seemed to me, than what we're seeing here.
Absolutely. I think the attitude here is not necessarily working on the development of the church, as it were. I think there's a lot of power play here.
So you're seeing a lot of politics?
A lot of it, yes.
Yeah.
A lot of it.
Yeah.
Which is a disgrace, because it does then bring in a kind of winner-loser attitude. If I'm strong, I will win. If you lose, it's up to you. So where is a Christian caring for one another?
Or if I concede on one point, then I'm, not the winner or something like that.
There you go.
Yeah. That's... one thing I wanted to ask you about, too, going back to the February primates meeting in Tanzania, I read a quote where you had said that even until the last night of our meeting, we were in a deadlock. And I was wondering if you could just tell me a little bit more what specifically the deadlock was about, and what do you think happened that last night that was able to break through, because you all then issued a communique that you all signed off on.
Let me compare the two meetings, the one we had in Drummondine and the one we had in Dar es Salaam. The Dar es Salaam meeting took sides very easily. You could feel it in the debates. You could see how people were for or against. You could see the liberal wing, the conservative wing, and Shori was there. We had felt that Shori shouldn't have been there, because there was still this that was hanging on the Episcopal Church, and then Shori went because the chairman said, well, it would be only fair for her to be there.
Right.
And so the atmosphere was not as peaceful, as cordial as the Drummondine one.
Really?
Now, the Drummondine one was more relaxed. There was a lot of fellowship. We were still not comfortable to have Holy Communion with Frank Griswold,
Right.
because hanging over them is a Gene Robinson thing.
Sure.
Okay. Now, when it came to the Dar es Salaam one, the response of the General Convention was still indicating that there was an inadequate reply to our request, which means, where is the problem? The request was very clear. Why are you not cooperating? Now, to us, we are now here in Dar es Salaam talking about certain things which in the first place is not having a level footing to start from, because we've already heard what the General Convention's response was.
Right.
And so many of us were feeling like, is the Episcopal Church serious?
Right.
And we also never had communion, because simply, is there repentance there? Are we agreeing on the right footing to be together? Are we really being together at the table, repenting of the things that we know we are doing to one another?
Right.
Now, if we are not going to do that, going to communion is not a serious business.
Right.
So we decided we will not do that. And there was no feel of being together, as it were. Up to the last moment, when the communique came, the Archbishop had to literally ask every member to agree to the communique. Nearly 11 o'clock in the evening, when everybody, one by one, was asked, and eventually we said, let's give it a try. Let's give it a try. Now, if the Episcopal Church leadership knew how very hard it was, even to produce a communique,
Right.
they would have treated it with a lot of thinking. But just throwing it like that,
Right.
to me, I think is an insult,
Right.
because that came out of a lot of sweat.
A lot of time. I have one logistical question, because I've heard both ways. Was the actual communique agreed to by verbal assent, or was it actually signed by the primates signing it with their signatures?
Signature, as it were, was not appended at that moment, because the press was waiting for the release. It was getting very, very late.
Right.
But it was the understanding that everybody seated in that hall had agreed.
So it was an assent.
Oh yeah, we gave our support to the Archbishop of Canterbury. Then he was out and he could release a communique, short of which there was no way. And there was a lot of, I think, a lot of guarding over information and discussion, which was excellent. The press was everywhere, but the security was good for us to be free to talk. But then they needed to know. The world needed to know. And we had to agree to say, that's our mind.
Okay.
Now, whether we signed or not, we had agreed.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just I've heard dispute as to what the assent meant, and I just wanted to clarify.
I think signature...
I mean, your word is your word.
Of course. I mean, if we have spoken, we have spoken.
Exactly.
If it is a matter of putting signature to paper, it was done before.
Right.
The Episcopal Church never even honored it anyway.
Right. Exactly. That's true. And it also gets very legalistic.
Absolutely.
If you're going to debate whether saying yes or signing is a difference.
Yeah, that's right.
But I just had heard that. People weren't quite sure exactly what had happened, so... Now we know.
Now you know.
Yeah, now we know.
Right.
I also was wondering, I had read that the Ugandan House of Bishops have not made, at this point, I'm assuming, a decision on whether to attend Lambeth.
No, we have made a decision.
Oh, you have made a decision?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We have made a decision. We made a decision this way. We said if the American bishops are going to Lambeth, including Gene Robinson, we are not going.
Okay.
Why? Because we have broken communion.
Right.
And what's the point of going?
So the feeling would be that you couldn't move the work of the church forward by being in broken communion trying to get things done. You just can't get decisions made. Or, I mean, if you went to Lambeth with bishops there that you felt you were not, with bishops that you were not in communion with, that it would be impossible to move forward on any issues because you're in broken communion with them.
No, I mean, what's going to be the use of Lambeth?
Right. Oh, I see. You mean
when we come together in Lambeth, we want to agree on some things that we can do together.
Right.
What we agreed on in the last Lambeth is being resisted. And some of this is doctrinally serious for us, with implications in missions and our witness and our testimony. So what's the point of going there? We couldn't see how we are going to help one another by going to Lambeth. And we cannot sweep some of these issues under the carpet, bury our heads in the sand. We pretend everything is okay. We would be living a lie. Honestly, the Church of Uganda draws from the revival movement of sincerity, of walking in the light and being open with one another. The reason being that we are going to be able to confess to one another, that there be healing, and we are working together. Now, if that is going to be the fellowship of bishops, within that context, we said it's not going to be helpful. Why spend money? Why spend time when we can use it elsewhere?
Right. Okay.
It's a very clear reasoning, I mean.
It's a very clear reasoning. I'm just thinking what the consequence of that is in a longer term. To the communion as a whole. Not just...
Well, I think the communion must realize that the house is broken.
Yes.
And if we don't accept the truth, the rift is going to grow larger.
Okay.
And I don't think that the Episcopal Church should underrate the action. They shouldn't. The effect of that action is bigger. Now, I wish they could listen beyond the boundary. I mean, but I think they seem to be satisfied with it, and therefore care little about what's happening out there. But the picture is they have broken the communion.
Right. Okay.
Not until then, not until that time, our communion was holding together. So why should 1998 begin to bring issues that now this is 2007, and Lambeth is supposed to be next year, 10 years down the road?
Right.
We are still talking, we are still struggling, we are still spending money. They ought to stop and say, why is this happening?
Right.
There ought to be something. Now, is it the resistance by the conservative only? No, it isn't. Something major, something doctrinal, something serious is going on. And I wish they could stop and say, why? Then ask and make self-evaluation. But I don't think that's where they think. That's what I am thinking for them, but that's not where they're thinking.
Do you think that's a cultural issue, that Americans don't like to listen to anyone else telling them what to do, or do you think it's something else?
Whatever it is, church is church. We have built the church irrespective of our cultures. There are things that we have not adhered to culturally because of the church, because of the faith. And if our faith is not going to help us rise up over some of the cultural values which are divisive, then there is no point for the faith to be anything. Now, if we cherish our faith for which we can die, Ugandans, the church in Uganda has got a history of martyrs. The church in England had history of martyrs. I don't know how many people in America here have given their lives for the faith. But because of that, we
Right.
treasure our faith.
Right.
And our faith has raised us up to go beyond our national boundaries. The fact that we are coming to America here, what right do we have to come to America? Faith.
Right. That's true. That pretty much covers what I was going to ask you about. Is there anything else that I didn't touch on that you wanted to address, or?
Personally, me, I would like to speak to the Orthodox who are here in America.
Oh, please.
All I can say to the Orthodox here is that hold firm to your faith.
Okay.
At the end of the day, the Lord is going to ask you as a people, have you been my witnesses? Has your light been shining? Have you been influencing your community? Have you carried your cross and walked with it? You could possibly be going through a very tough time, persecutions here and there, misunderstanding here and there. But that's the nature of the Christian faith. The Christian faith has always been battered by the thinking of the world. But it has never been destroyed. Never. And so at the moment, I want to encourage the Orthodox to remain firm, to remain faithful, to walk with Jesus Christ. And they should know that out there, they have a big support from many of us who are cheering them up. We have our own problems, but when it comes to faith, we will be together.
There's one issue that I have in terms of staying in the Episcopal Church as someone who believes orthodoxly and traditionally, whether I'm giving kind of credence to the national church by staying in the Episcopal Church. Because by my staying in it, someone from the outside can associate me with a church at a national level that I don't agree with, although locally my parish is very much Orthodox. So how do I resolve that in myself in terms of, besides manner of life? And
I believe that's going to be a personal decision for people to make.
Right.
Some people, it doesn't bother them until your rector is going to retire. Then you have somebody who is going to come in there who doesn't share in the faith of your rector.
Right.
By which time you might find the roof is blown off. I think that some of the decisions some churches are making by saying, look, we really want to belong where we can have a clear link, not only locally, but globally.
Yes.
If you come to my province from your church, and we are speaking the same language, we have no problem. But then there will be a time when you're coming back and you're saying, well, I need to report to my bishop what I did or what I said. Now, your bishop may not be sharing your belief, your sentiments, and the rest of it. You probably are not going to go that far. But when you see the church, the Anglican Church, for instance, is not only just a local congregation. We have all this hierarchical leadership put for us in order to help the church run.
Right.
A local congregation eventually will have problems. Eventually. I mean, these things don't happen overnight.
Right.
Where we are, 50 years ago, nobody thought this would be. Now, what happened? Some people enter our rank and began to breed, and they brought in issues and ideas and teachings. Now, look where you are.
Right.
Are we going to be safe from it? I pray we should.
Right. I
I pray that we need to guard the faith under Jesus' leadership.
So it's a discipline issue as well when those ideas come in. How are they handled?
As I believe that when new things come in, we need to put them under the test of the Word of God. And as leaders, we need to ask the Lord to help us to be able to be responsible to Him and to the people. Sometimes when we have a lot of power, we misuse it. And the victims are our people. But then as leaders, I think we ought to know that we are going to be accountable to God for the people He has entrusted to us.
Great. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. God bless you.
Thank you.